Hi, my name is Devon Pendleton. I'm a reporter here at Bloomberg News, where I cover wealth. And joining me today is Christian Angermayer. Christian is a well-known investor, tech investor, and founder of Apeiron Investment Group, which invests in a range of things from tech, biotech, fintech, crypto, real estate. But the reason we're very excited to have Christian here today is to talk about the main thesis underpinning a lot of his investments, which is ways in which we can invest in technology to prolong our lives and help us lead longer, happier lives. So, Christian, let's talk about that broad idea of happiness. What does it mean to you?
Wow, that's, first of all, thanks for having me. And that's the most sort of philosophical question at the beginning, which we could like talk hours. Like, really, what I had the luck, let's start there, that I always was happy not in a meaning because people then think, okay, this can't be, like you have to have a bad day, whatever. Happiness for me is sort of these one level below, or as underlying a daily mood. Like you can have a bad day, you can have a stressful day, you can have obviously a great day, yeah, but there is one level below, is like sort of this feeling that your life is all right, even if you have hard times, you have great times, like, but sort of that the underlying principle of your life is all right. And I had the luck that I always sort of had that, which I'm very much crediting actually my parents for a very normal upbringing. Meaning I started my investment career self-made, so I'm not coming from a rich family. Grew up in a village with 90 people, which I think is very healthy, by the way. I think sort of nature, being outside, being grounded is super important. So I always had that, but realized very early that this is not sort of the normal state of many people. So I always was very interested in why is that? Why are people from not happy to actually then the clinical diagnosis of being depressive? Yeah, but I think this is a sliding scale. Yeah, so many, yes. So we know there is a certain point, there is actually like a scale people can be measured, like where you're depressive. But I would say most people I actually meet are not really fully happy. So I was always interested in that because I think if you boil it down, we just want two things in life, which is being healthy and happy. These are the only things we ultimately really want. Everything else is a means to achieve that. So if you talk to people and you're like, what do you want in life? Then normally the first answer might be a family, success, a lot of money, whatever, a car, you know what I mean? Like, but always when you poke people, when you're like, okay, why do you want the family actually? Why do you want to be successful in business? Why do you want to have this and that? So if you go why, the ultimate end answer will always be, I want to be healthy and happy. So that is sort of,
So, Christian,
in my view,
you mind
100%
if
of the total repertoire.
looking sort of specifically at what you invest in with that idea in mind, like thinking about happiness, ways to achieve that? There you have what you call a brain portfolio of companies which you're investing in, looking specifically at ways we can help make our brains healthier, happier. Examples include companies that are making therapies that act directly on neural pathways, virtual reality-based meditation apps, really interesting stuff. However, tech it's getting sort of a bad rap these days. People are not equating tech with happiness. It's making our lives more harried, more stressful. Social media. Can you talk a little bit about your opinion of social media when it comes to our happiness?
Yes, so meaning you're totally right. So it's sort of almost, I don't think it's sort of a contradiction, but I'm seeing on the one side, I would say that way. I very much believe, and I think overall it's a great thing, that over the next 20 years, the world will change in an unprecedented way. Yeah, by the way, we all believe it has already changed, and it didn't really. Like, yeah, I mean, yes, okay, we both talking on Zoom, but like a lot of the world, if you think about it, has fairly stayed the same. The taxi driver or the taxi is still driven by a taxi. Yeah, I'm still flying sometimes somewhere and not projected there with a hologram. Like, yeah, I always say that way, if somebody out of the 50s would be beamed into our time, yes, there would be things which would be novel, but overall, this person could sort of integrate. I think the next 20 years, we see a level of change which is 100x of the last 20 years. And at the same time, we're gonna first we're going to redefine the outer world, but at the same time, and that is what I'm very focused on, is we're going to actually redefine in a certain way what it means to be human, because there is this immense correlation between sort of the changes we do to the outer world and how it reflects back on sort of our mind, and at the same time how we actually can sort of manipulate, or manipulate negative word, but like sort of change maybe actively our mind, talk about brain-computer interfaces whatsoever. Having said that, so I'm very excited about technological innovation, and with my investment from Apeiron, as you said, we're investing in that technological innovation. So I'm part of that change, but we also have to acknowledge that this change is actually, I would even call it, to come to your question with social media, is in certain ways toxic to our brain. Yeah. So there's many reasons. Like it gives you two. Like first of all, our brain or our mental well-being doesn't like change. So our mind wants stability. It's small things, but like this is why every religion, every culture created these repetitive things. Like we have Christmas, we have this. Yeah, I mean there are many reasons for that, keeping communities together. But one reason is it's appeasing our mind that there is continuity. Yeah, in a world of change. But think about like in the medieval ages and before, people didn't have change at all. The world didn't change from the day they were born to the day they died, and that's what is normal for us. And now practically the world is changing in 1 year more than it changed for a medieval person in their whole lifetime. Yeah, talking about social media, external validation is literally almost as strong as opioids. So if you get your likes on Twitter or on Instagram, that hooks you on, like taking cocaine, taking opioids, whatever. Yeah. So talking about, I always say, like, we're talking about children shouldn't be exposed to alcohol at home, hopefully, because it's a bad drug. But having social media free for them is like having hardcore whiskey in front of their eyes and actually telling them in the morning, do you want some? Like, it's really crazy. Like, not saying that all these stuff again can have very positive, or has actually very positive perks as well, but I think we need to acknowledge, and especially social media and other things, that it is as toxic, or can be, and we need to maybe regulate, but at least we need to educate the population about the upsides and downsides, and especially parents have to educate their kids. The problem is parents didn't grow up with that. Yeah, so they don't even know all these sort of downsides. So I think we are in a very, very dangerous or problematic time. I think in 20 years from now, we're going to be way more used to, in terms of we're going to have found ways to live with that. But we are at the moment in this adjustment period, which can be extremely devastating, and it can cause a lot of harm, and it does already. Or one more example, just to show you like how crazy these things are. Like, it's my sort of favorite. It's not a nice experiment, but like in mental health, if you take two rats in a cage, and they are divided by a glass, so they can see each other, and one is a little bit stronger, it's called alpha rat, and a beta rat, and although they cannot harm each other because they cannot physically reach each other, the weaker rat, just by looking continuously, or have to sort of face the stronger rat, actually will get depressive. So why I'm telling that, what is Instagram? Instagram is a completely fake reality, because people change their pictures with Photoshop, like they pose in front of cars they don't own, like, and you think, and your children think, or you tell your children, hey, when you go on Instagram, this is not reality. Yeah. But the part of the brain which reacts on the alpha being sort of in front of your eyes, they see their peer group, which is not their peer group because it's fake, but you know what I want to say? Like, they see people, and the part of the brain which creates sort of anxiety, which creates depression, whatever, doesn't understand that this is fake. It just reacts on a seemingly more perfect person displayed, and creates depression and anxiety.
A lot of people were criticizing TV for similar reasons 50 years ago. Do you think that this sort of criticism of social media is overblown just because we don't understand it, or do you think it's different from TV decades ago?
I don't know what people really criticize. That could be these adjustment effects I've mentioned. We've learned to live with it, use it, adjust to it. But so I don't know what was the critique or what was the assumption, but what I can say is that social media really triggers addiction-like syndromes, depression-like syndromes. I don't think TV ever did that. So I do think it's a different level of being bad.
So can we talk a little bit about some specific examples of how you think tech can help us live happier lives? There's so many examples of where it can harm our mental health right now, but what about the upside?
Well, if I may, I would include tech and biotech, because obviously the strongest and my favorite example, as you know, I can give with psychedelics. So my biotech company Atai is developing a range of mental health treatments, but the core group of it are so-called psychedelics. Yeah, which is funnily, by the way, I always jokingly say what some older parents warned their children of, like magic mushrooms, LSD, and whatsoever, because actually these compounds did have a therapeutic value in the last century before they were made for purely political reasons illegal. And their therapeutic potential is that they can be an enormous relief up to a cure for various mental health issues like depression, anxiety, addiction, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and so on. So, my really, and I know it's sort of a bold idea, but I think for most of the problems of our time, for most of the mental health problems, mental health is a complex thing. So in our brain is beautiful and complex. So there will never be a one size fits all, but sort of the strongest part or the most important part of the solutions, I deeply believe, will be psychedelics. So what Atai is doing is we're developing these psychedelics as medical compounds. So we don't want it be legalized. This is not a consumer play like cannabis. So we are a medical drug development company. Yeah, we're doing FDA trials, so very rigorous science. But our goal is to have these compounds ultimately approved as a therapy, as a therapeutic compound. Very important, most of them, not all of them, but most of them with a therapist together. So it's not that you're going to take then mushrooms at home once approved, but you go to a therapist to do it with them. But for a lot of things I'm seeing in society at the moment going wrong, I think sort of almost the antidote to it is psychedelic. So that is sort of overall, I think it's the most important thing which I'm doing. So it's my highest impact portfolio company or endeavor. And I think it's also for the mental health crisis, it's the best tool we have.
Christian, when we spoke before, you talked about three sort of tenets to happiness, the three legs of the stool to happiness being faith, love, and purpose. I'm wondering, with faith in particular, if you could talk a little bit about that, and if you see any technological advances that can help people reconnect or deepen faith, however they define it.
Yeah. So let me explain, because I always jokingly say, and we talked about it, it's a little bit of a cheesy takeaway, but a lot of people ask me and say, hey, you're dealing so much with the mental health and sort of the absence of mental health, depression, whatever. Is there anything I can do without taking psychedelics, whatever? And there is a lot of small things, but my overall model is indeed, I think, again, it's very important because I'm obviously chairman and founder of a biotech company. This is not really scientific what I'm saying. This is my personal sort of takeaway. But actually, I have to say, if I speak to a lot of scientists, they're like, actually, you're quite right. We just cannot say because it's hard to really prove in a scientific model. But it is these three things. My view is, and it's maybe also important because we're going into the Christmas time where you can actually recharge a lot of the things I'm saying automatically with your family. It's like, I think our brain and our mind has almost like an immune system. Our body has an immune system, the mind, because what is very interesting, everybody of us going to have a bad time in his or her life. Yeah, it's going to happen. Life is not an easy thing. It's challenging, whatever. But why do some people sort of why are they very resilient? Why others not? So my model is we have an immune system in our mind, in our brain, which consists of three things, as you said: faith, purpose, and love. What is important, by the way, and sad, and then coming also back to what we said earlier with social media, all of these three things, unfortunately, are actually on the decline. So we're living in a time where faith in any form, by the way, this can be organized religion, this can be spiritual, yeah, but is on the decline, yeah. Very, very important, relating to what you said earlier, purpose is rapidly on the decline, because my view is every ordinary people, not just the people here on Bloomberg, investors, whatever, I think ordinary people are smarter than we sometimes think. They might not understand details, but they have a gut feeling. And I always say the bus driver, somehow he or she might not be able to tell you what AI is or self-driving cars exactly, but they have a feeling that they might not drive that bus in the future. Yeah. So many, and it's just one example, so many people instinctively know that the world is changing so rapidly that their purpose at the moment, their job they're doing, will not exist in 10 years. And that deeply, deeply traumatizes and frightens them. And then the third is love. Like, we are pack animals. I very much believe also, like, we just need to look, what are we sort of designed for, made for, what is the evolution of humans? Like, we are pack animals in small groups. So we want a family, yeah, and we want a close group of like 20, 30 people, our social environment. And this is also in the decline. Like, society's changing, like people, meaning we did a survey last year, loneliness is dramatically on the rise through all age groups. From, there was already some weeks ago, the UK government reported that, I hopefully get the numbers right, but like 10 years ago, they make this every year, they ask every 18-year-old, how many people, friends do you have to call in time of crisis? Like 10 years ago, it was like 3. Yeah, now it's 0.5. That means some kids don't have any real friend anymore. Yeah. And by the way, and the other side of life, or the other end of life, old people are extremely lonely. Right? So all of these things together, practically everything which makes us stay sane in a crazy world, is actually dramatically on being reduced. Having said that, coming back to what I said earlier, if you take psychedelics medically, aside of what they do as a mechanism of action, that would be my summary if I describe to somebody what did psychedelics give me. And I'm always very open. I do psychedelics twice a year in a country where it's legal. They give me exactly that. They give me faith. They show me purpose, or in my case, enforce me that I'm on the right path in life. And they show you the importance of love. You become open again. You develop deeper relations to the people around you.
So Christian, one last platform of your investing focus here that I want to hit on is longevity. You're invested specifically in 2 companies that are developing ways and researching strategies to prolong the human lifespan. Can you talk a little bit about the science behind that and why you feel it's important?
Well, let's start with the why. Why not? Like, I think, like, once you're happy and healthy, which we discussed at length, then I think it's very natural that you want to live as long as possible, or at least as long as you want. So my vision is that hopefully, and I'm very confident, we're going to push life expectancy that much that I'm already in this cohort, my sort of generation, where we're going to live that long. By the way, in a very healthy state. That's also important. A lot of people think, oh, yeah, if I live to some 100 years, then it's like they take somebody who's 90-year-old and sort of prolong that time. And there will be no significant life extension without rejuvenation. So we're going to be in a very useful state. Yeah. And I think this is going to happen for my generation already, so that I'm going to have the luxury decision at some point, do I want to die? So I think it's part of our humanity that we want a finite end. So I don't think we want to live forever. Yeah. But I want to actually, this is for me the ultimate freedom to sort of decide about when did I have enough, when did I have enough Christmases, when did I have enough birthdays. And I'm a very curious person, so I think it's going to be way out there. So how is it going to happen? We know in the meantime what aging means. Yeah, it's a very complex problem, but we start understanding it. A colleague of mine, Manuel Serrano, he coined these term 9 hallmarks of aging. So there won't be one drug. There will be various interventions, but we're going to get there.
Great. Well, that sounds really interesting. Thank you for joining us, Christian. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.